If you love scoring amazing hotel deals, you've got to use Hotel Tonight. I've used them. I love them. Forget scrolling through never-ending list of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at cool hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you could book in advance, not just at the last minute. It's perfect for spontaneous weekend getaways, 3-day weekends, staycations, road trips, business trips, booking a place with a pool, and more. Hotel Tonight is fantastic. It's easy to use. I love it. My friends love it. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. In fact, a friend of mine recently up in New York City, I told him about the app. He needed a hotel room that night. He used it that day and got himself at one of the nicest hotels in New York City, got himself 40% off what he would normally pay for that hotel. It is simple, guys. To start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels, go to HotelTonight.com or download the app right now.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to Geico.com today and see how much you could save.
It is football!
That was impressive. I'm a little confused about this Dolphins team because I've actually read more and tried to quote unquote study this Dolphins team more than in years past. Like I'm really trying to figure this team out, and I feel like there's a disconnect between local and national. I feel like locally people think this is like the same type Dolphins team, like anywhere from 6 to 9 wins in that range, just like every year for the last 20 years. But nationally, this team is like thought of as like at the bottom. Like every power rankings you see with like all 32 teams, Dolphins are like one of the bottom 3 teams.
Yeah, is there excitement? Well, you could speak to it best because
I'm not saying that there's excitement down here, but I just feel like down here locally, it's just like this team is going to just be what they always are. They're not going to win 10 games. They're not going to lose 4 games. They're just going to be what they've been for 20 years.
Well, I guess the counterpoint to, well, how could they be anything different than they were last year? How could they be better than they were last year when you remove the production of Jarvis Landry and you get rid of Ndamukong Suh? Midway through the year last year, you got rid of J.H.I., who was pretty incredible last night and changed the game for Philadelphia. But you got Ryan Tannehill back.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big difference in the most important position because I know the jury's always going to be out on Ryan Tannehill forever. You'll retire with the jury being out on him. But I think we can say pretty definitively he's much better than Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Especially much better than Jay Cutler last year at that point in his career, right? I'm not.
Right. I think those two things cancel each other out. We lost Landry and Sue, but Tannehill's back. So that's why I think locally the perception is we got Tannehill back, but we don't have any stars to go with it. So it's just going to be that 6-10, 7-9 team.
ESPN has the Miami Dolphins dead last in the power rankings.
Right, that's what I mean.
Dead last?
And I think locally, if everything you read,
kind of harsh.
Right. That's what I mean.
Isn't that kind of harsh?
Yeah, it is.
With a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, who I don't know is any good. I don't know if Matt Ryan's any good. I was making the Matt Ryan comparison point pre-Kyle Shanahan.
He's better than Tannehill.
Not the Matt Ryan that I saw last night, which I didn't really get to see much because I was on a runway. Thank you, American. But the game ran long, so I heard the half of the third quarter, and Boomer Esiason was destroying Matt Ryan being an inaccurate quarterback. And then I watched it, and whoa, Matt Ryan. Has he gotten, he's never the most fleet of foot, but he is slow, cement-footed, and inaccurate. I know that's a very good defense, a Super Bowl champion defense. Julio Jones looks slimmer, looks better. He still can't score at all. It's the weirdest thing with him.
I have a strange take on Julio Jones watching last night because he had a monster game. You look at those stats, what was it, like 10 for 169 or something?
Nice.
And he was just balling. But if you really looked a couple times, he looked like it's week 14.
Yeah.
Every time he got up after getting tackled, he looked just like, I'm feeling great about that performance, like if I had him in fantasy, but for the season, I'm thinking like Julio Jones could be getting hurt at any point.
Well, he was slow to get up even when nobody was tackling him. Running in a straight line, and even in the cuts, I actually thought, and I paid a lot of attention to Julio Jones last year because he was a fantasy mistake because he couldn't score. I thought he had a terrible year last year, and it turns out I think he was like leading the NFL in receiving.
Right.
Just because he can't score touchdowns anymore. But he looks slimmer. He looks a little quicker to me. And I saw this really bizarre quote about that Sarkisian had because Atlanta really struggled to find their offense towards the early part of the season. And he said that he had trouble sort of calibrating the offense around the longer strides that Julio Jones was taking. I'm like, well, I guess he's got some speed. He's not the same sort of he doesn't have the same sort of speed that he had when he entered the league, obviously, because he's got half a toe on one foot. But I thought the body looked better. But yes, I saw what you were seeing, which is a guy who's had a lot of injuries that he's played through, and he's been carrying a lot of weight. Those big receivers, man, it drops off pretty quick for them because it's not just the tackling that they receive. It's their own body weight falling to the ground. I mean, just Dan's mentioned this. Go to your office and just fall down in the hallway. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. Do that repeatedly, and do that as a 250-pounder. Not fun.
How's he in his route running? He's pretty good, right?
I mean,
I can assess this. I'm a big route.
You're
runner.
a big route guy?
Yeah, I can tell you. He's a fantastic route runner. The way he hits those cuts and those outs and ins, perfect.
The outs and ins. He knows how to use his body. He knows how to use his body as a weapon. But Matt Ryan, I don't know. Look, it's the home opener for the defending Super Bowl champions, and they have a swarming defense. But there were times where he had a decent passing lane, and he had a wide open receiver.
Yeah.
And even sometimes the receivers would catch it, but they would leave a lot of yards on the field because the ball was thrown behind. I wasn't impressed at all.
Yeah, you look at that box score, and it's just Julio. And Julio was out the whole preseason. He didn't play, I don't think, all preseason.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's odd that
he had like 3/4 of their yards, I think.
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know what they're going to do.
It would be nice to have a Julio Jones, especially if you're the Miami Dolphins. Where are they going to get these 100 receptions from? Is it going to be Albert Wilson? Are we just going to turn Albert Wilson into Jarvis Landry? Because I don't think he's that kind of player. I really don't. I think he's a different kind of player and might actually bring you a little bit more excitement than Jarvis Landry did because I think Albert Wilson, from what I saw in Kansas City, legit deep threat.
Yeah. Fast Albert needs to be he needs to be big. Someone on this receiving core needs to step up. Devontae Parker.
Is that his nickname?
I'm trying to get it off.
All right. No, I didn't mean Fast Albert.
Fast
no, I get
Albert.
it.
Yeah,
no, you added an S to a common. Okay, keep going.
It's clever.
You were on Devontae Parker. Go.
Devontae Parker, I mean, he's obviously not playing week 1. He's been a disappointment. I don't know he's just a question mark. We need either Amendola to be as good as Amendola's been in his career, or we need Albert Wilson to be good for this. I don't know where the catches are going to come from to answer your question.
Amendola, if you've been following the Dolphins for a while, this feels a little Tony Martin-y. You know, we need to count on Tony Martin.
Yeah.
We need to count on David Boston. We've brought these guys in the past week. The Dolphins have brought these guys in the past, and they've had decent moments in their career. Although I think Danny Amendola, he's had some big moments, some clutch moments in New England, but I honestly think that New England experience for Danny Amendola was pretty disappointing considering the expectations everybody had for him. They just thought that they would replace Wes Welker's production with Danny Amendola. And Danny Amendola, who was a guy in his career that struggled to stay on the field, maybe that pops back over here in Miami. We can't forget that. And at times it happened in New England, but he was relatively healthy, certainly healthier in New England than he was in other stops. And he just never matched that production. I guess maybe it's because Edelman really broke through, and Gronk, but Gronk was in and out of the lineup. I was just pretty disappointed with Amendola overall because my expectations were so high. Now the expectations are lowered nationally, but it seems as though locally there's some people really counting on him, and I don't know if that's the greatest position to be in.
I don't know what people think locally because, like I said, everything I read makes it seem like people actually think this team's going to be decent, and I'm trying to be positive. But it's hard for me to find any.
Well, no, I got a few positives just from the outside looking in, right? So I'm a huge fan of Xavier Howard. I think if that dude is who he was sort of from the Raider game on, which that Raider game was his coming out party, he looks like a shutdown corner.
People are saying he is the best player on the team right now.
You're not going to get any pushback from me. He's the one that stands out, not just in the games, but I was at training camp.
Yeah.
You were at training camp.
Yeah.
Roy, you were at training camp. Xavier Howard, baller.
Yeah.
Baller.
Yeah.
Absolute baller. I'm excited to see Minkah Fitzpatrick because everything that we've seen and heard so far has delivered for what was maybe a bizarre draft pick at the time, but we're understanding a little bit more. I'm super excited about Robert Quinn if I'm a Dolphin fan.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Mike Gesicki, too. That guy.
Well, he's going to need to step up because you just lost Marquise Gray. And I'm a little bit familiar with Marquise Gray because I'm a degenerate gambler and he was a quarterback in Minnesota. And in Big Ten, you need a mobile quarterback if you want to get those backdoor covers. And Marquise Gray was excellent at that, but he actually spent some time as a Cleveland Brown. And he's a solid player. He's hung around this long for a guy that was out of position, essentially. And you were hoping for, I don't know how many big things you're actually hoping for that position. That position sort of always plagued Miami.
Yeah.
When's the last time they had a Pro Bowler at that position? Can you look that up for me? Because even dating back to Troy Drayton, I feel like we've had hopes for this position and never.
Was Randy McMichael a Pro Bowler?
Randy McMichael was probably the best Dolphins tight end, I think, of my lifetime.
Yeah. I remember him dancing with the cheerleaders, too. He was, like, fun, too.
Randy McMichael was fun.
Yeah.
Randy McMichael and Chambers era.
Yeah. That
underrated
era. Of this bad era, I think that was
that was a highlight.
Yeah.
Hi,
people might say that the 11 team that made the playoffs, no. Just the only wild, like, other than that, like, just the Wildcat, that's what you remember from
even the
team.
two playoff teams that they had, the one where they won the division and the one where Matt Moore started in the playoffs. Yeah. You look at the rosters, there's not a lot of continuity from year to year. Those seems like those were obviously flashes in the pan.
By the way, all you people the last couple of years that have said Matt Moore over Ryan Tannehill, where's Matt Moore right now? He's at home.
Is he?
I believe so.
You said where's Matt Moore, and I cannot answer the question.
He was, like, as of last week, unless he just signed somewhere, he's at home. And I got so infuriated. It was mostly people, just like high school friends on my Facebook, just blowing up Matt Moore that he should be over. And I was just always so baffled and annoyed by that, and I feel good now about it.
Keith Jackson, 1992. That was the last Pro Bowler.
Wow.
Dolphins had a tight end.
Yeah, I remember Keith Jackson was solid, but I'm sure if you look at his yardage for that year, he was a Pro Bowler with maybe like 257 yards, considering what the tight end position was back then.
So Mike Gesicki, I think, falls into that category of.
Well, he's going to need to step up.
Like that's what I mean. Either him, Fast Albert, Danny Amendola, somebody on this offense needs to be a Pro Bowler, or else it is going to. I mean, unless Tannehill just takes another step and becomes this guy that turns all of them into 60 catch people. It's going to be rough if he doesn't find someone to make good.
Keith Jackson had 592 yards and 5 touchdowns in 1992.
That's actually an amazing season for a tight end in 1992. A well-deserved Pro Bowl. That's what got you to the Pro Bowl.
I just saw something about last night's game that reminded me. These Philly fans, they were booing last night.
At halftime.
No, before halftime. They booed at the end, and Al Michaels said it both times. Wow, the Boo Birds are out. At the end of the first quarter, they're down 3-0. First game after winning your Super Bowl, and then at halftime they're down 6-3 and they're booing. I know Philly fans are like known for this.
No, they like their misery. I think they like their misery more than they like the championship, honestly.
That is insane. Do you guys boo your own team ever? I can't think of a time.
No, I boo my team occasionally.
I have never in my entire life. I'll boo opposing teammates. I'll stand up and boo with my hands like cupping my mouth. Like I will get my boo heard. If I really want to go, but I've never, like, who boos their own team? Like, when have you guys actually booed your own team?
When the punter shanks everything.
See, even that, like right there. I'm talking about,
I boo the punter.
I'm talking about the literal booing. Cause you might be MFing him.
No, well, I'm like, really frustrated with him. No, but I'll join in on a boo. It's cathartic. Do you boo?
No, I'm not a booer.
Yeah,
you're not a booer?
No, I don't boo.
You're not a cheerer either.
Yeah, I'm not a cheerer either.
You just are.
Arms folded.
Well, I put it to the poll. Are you a booer? Because that's why I go to games. That's why I don't watch it on television. If I want to be there in the atmosphere, Chris, I want to take part in that.
But, yeah, like I commiserate and I get mad at my team, but it's just like the actual act of because like it's just what are you doing? First of all, this team specifically, what are you doing? In general, it has to be like I'm trying to think of the hypothetical for me to boo my team.
How about giving LSU starting field position at their own 40 or better 9+ times?
Why don't we just start Kate Weldon this weekend, by the way?
Well, because it's Savannah State, and they're favored by 52 points, and I believe Savannah State completed one pass.
Whoever we start is like we're gonna get excited for. Let's just. We know what Rozier.
You're gonna see.
We know Rozier. Like I get like
you're gonna see Weldon plenty, dude.
Like Rozier is probably the best quarterback right now, but we know the ceiling with him.
So you're going with Rozier?
Oh yeah.
You've decided.
I'm all in.
We're making this pivot.
Yeah. Dude,
Roy.
If Sean McDonough calls him Rozier, I'm gonna call him Rozier.
Yeah, but several other play-by-play. What is this trust that you have in Sean McDonough?
Well, I also my dad was here this week that he talked to the father.
Yeah, but the father didn't seem to care.
He said it is Rozier, but it's kind of turned into Rozier. Do you want me to go back to you like Rozier?
I've just been calling him Rozier for a year and a half, and this is just so sudden. It's like Tyrod Taylor. I'm not quite ready. I don't like having to think when I have to say somebody's name. Like, it's all of a sudden if Roy just...
And I have been thinking. It's like been in my head.
You're thinking about it. It's a little hesitation. Imagine if Roy just walked in here and he said, call me Wah from now on. It's going to take a little acclimation process.
That's true. I've kind of just gone all in with it. It's weird.
You won't have to worry about that ever. Thank you very much.
But seriously, though, we know the ceiling with Rozier. We know the ceiling. And we don't know what the ceiling. This Weldon guy, and I know you're.
we don't know much about. To be frank,
you're down on N'Kosi Perry, but we don't know. Like, throw him in there against these weaker teams.
Well, I do think with N'Kosi Perry that he hasn't been a good practice player, right? But I think he has this sort of raw athleticism that I'd really like to see in a game situation. Yeah. And I know a lot of people around the program sort of agree with that. So I was really bummed that he didn't make the trip because N'Kosi Perry. Even though most UM fans don't know that he can't even beat out Weldon, right?
Yeah.
They have, to a large degree, put their hopes, not even really knowing about this Williams kid, that he's the guy that could replace Rozier, right?
Yeah.
So if Perry was available, and I'm not even sure most UM fans there in Dallas even knew the situation with Perry, he would be like the popular guy. He's the guy because you've heard he's the young, fresh talent, right? But man, I haven't heard a good thing about N'Kosi Perry other than he's athletic.
The team's kind of behind Weldon, as I've read and you said.
Yeah, no, the team rallies around Weldon. He's got this fiery sort of jerk attitude on the field that the team sort of responds to, a very different sort of way of carrying himself than Malik. Maybe I just go Malik. I'm thinking about it way too much.
Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval. Only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
The reason Stugotz is tired is because he is using every available outlet to, at all times, spew his sports opinions. He comes in here, I look up, and by way of hello, I've got his phone in my face recording me, asking me for opinions on things because he is insatiable.
Stugotz.
Yeah, I'm on television right now. This is the pizza. Oh, this is delicious. This is so good. Let me walk outside. Let me get on Facebook Live and Twitter Live. These are the peanut M&Ms. Oh, I forgot something. Let me go over here and grab a selfie stick. Let's do Facebook Live today. It's Facebook Live Friday.
It's all for the show, man.
That's what, yeah.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
It's a football Friday. It's football Friday. It's also a wedding Friday.
Yeah.
A show wedding.
You should have just stayed on a plane.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Well, I thought that I was just going to stay on that runway forever, and then, but I was honestly like, no, because Billy's out today.
Yeah.
I was just going to put Roy and Chris in a really terrible spot.
Oh, we would have killed it, Roy. Me and you.
Oh yeah,
Killed it, like as in like killed it dead.
Oh no,
the show.
Would have been amazing. We actually have something planned in case of the event that ever happens.
Really?
I can't tell you what it is though.
no, it's a secret.
Okay. All right. Well, we're all going to Old Money Charlie's wedding. Just a shipping container.
Yeah.
None of the actual talent.
Yeah.
Is going for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
The people he really wanted there or not.
I just found out Princess Claire is coming.
That's right.
Princess Claire.
Roy.
Is this her first flight?
Yes, it is.
Oh man.
Yeah, she's been fussy lately, so I don't know how this is going to go.
Oh,
so
not well.
Not well.
Not well.
I know. You've always. Oh, she's starting to get a little fussy because you've been famous like her whole life so far. Every time you're just like, oh, she's great. She's always quiet. She's finally starting to get a little.
She's fighting me now.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything, but that was what her reputation was. But we went to a soccer game. The good news is about Princess Claire going is my wife's going to be super happy because she loves the princess.
Yeah.
But she was a little fussy that soccer game. And by a little, I mean the entire game.
Yes, the entire game. Yeah.
So this is going to be a really fun experience for you. I don't think your life has probably come fast at you several times since this baby was born, I imagine. I don't know. All I have is a dog. However, I think there will never be a more life comes fast at you moment than this first flight with your baby. When the eyes of the world it will feel are on you the first second Princess Claire starts crying, because I'm that person. I am absolutely the person that if your baby is crying, I'll give you a courtesy 45 minutes. Look, I can go through a lot here. I can. But we go on an hour with the fussing baby. You're going to get the look because I know what the look does. I absolutely know what the look does.
It just makes people feel worse about themselves that they really have no control over.
Well, yeah. I know exactly what the look does. The look is only meant for me to make you have that feeling.
Yeah.
You're going to get that look today.
Oh, and that look's coming because I believe Roy's flying out at like 8.
Oh.
That's like, what's her bedtime usually?
Around 6:30.
Oh, you have a shot. You have a shot.
Oh, so she might actually be asleep.
She might actually be asleep then.
Maybe.
Yeah. Usually when there's a lot of like stimulation for her to look at, oof.
And the cabin pressure.
Woo.
Oh boy.
Have we found out if we have to ride horses to this wedding or not?
Oh, man.
Oh, how elegant. What's the number of forks?
So many spoons.
A chariot.
Is there a gazpacho?
Oh my God.
Is there a horse-drawn carriage?
What actual band does he have there? Like,
oh yeah, no, it's
like a headliner band.
No, it's a band that it's probably Bare Naked Ladies.
Right.
A band that had, modest hits.
Yeah.
Not even a one-hit wonder. We're not going to go there.
Grammy
modest
nominated.
hits. Grammy nominated.
Yeah.
Maybe like the Baha Men show up. You laugh, but the Baha Men, I've seen them before, actually. I saw them at a Tampa Rum Fest last year. They were 45 minutes late. And they were introduced as Grammy Award-winning Baha Men. Okay.
Oh, wait, that was down. I remember that. You posted stuff about
Yeah, the Who Let the Dogs Out band. That's who the Baha Men are, who I believe are playing Riptide. How about that? I'm promoting Riptide. Who
are the headliners for? Like,
I saw the Jacksons for the Friday. They're changing up. It's a 3-day festival this year. The Jacksons. I think I saw Sheila E. on there for that Friday.
Nice.
It used to be Sunday was the old AC, basically the Richard Marx Day, even though they've never had Richard Marx. But if you were to book Richard Marx, he would be on the Sunday. Now that's on a Friday. Saturday is really the Shark Day, where you see like these younger bands with like alt radio hits, right? And I saw Cold War Kids are playing. Let me pull this up. I think Panic at the Disco is the headliner. You like Panic at the Disco?
I like a couple of their songs.
But I'm all about Sunday. I'm all about the Sunday.
Are you going?
I'm going that Sunday, even though it's a football Sunday. And plus, the ACC championship game, I believe, is that Saturday, unless they fix that, because that was a huge issue last year.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm still planning on going to the ACC championship. All is fine. All is fine.
It's going to be a yearly tradition for you.
All is fine.
Yeah.
All is fine.
Look,
I've been making a habit of recently of traveling to blowouts, and I'm still having a hell of a time because I am drinking this city up.
I was going to say, your trip on your social media, you looked like you guys won, like the way you partied, the way after.
Well, I mean, I'm listening to this podcast right now with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. He was on the Joe Rogan Experience. By the way, Billy's fake Elon Musk is actually on the money. Elon Musk laughs just like that.
Not that we would ever get him, but like, is he gettable? Like, does he do media?
He does some media. He doesn't do 2-hour sit downs. That's not something. Joe Rogan had him for 2 hours. There's video of Elon Musk smoking. I know he was drinking whiskey the entire time. Riptide. I got to go to the ticketmiami.com.
While he's doing that.
But he was saying about social media while I'm doing that. He was saying that people, it's not Instagram, especially. I like Instagram more than I like Twitter because it's generally positive, but that's because people are living their best lives. And he made the point that even happy people want to appear happier. The videos that they post makes it seem like that's their life all the time. Even filters, they look better than they actually are. And in turn, it makes people that aren't that happy maybe even more miserable. Well, why am I not that happy? So these social media's a plague, and we're all going to get killed by robots. Was a basic. Proceed, though, talking.
We're also going to one day realize that we shouldn't have our cell phones near our heads when we sleep, and I'm scared of that. Do you get scared of that, Roy? The idea that like there could be like waves and cancer could be forming.
Oh, absolutely. I have the phone far away from the bed, and quite frankly, I don't know why we have to put it in our pockets, but it's the same thing.
I could not sleep closer to my phone if I tried. Like, it is under my pillow, and I like feel the kinetic energy.
Why are you putting it on? I don't think that's kinetic energy. Why are you putting it under?
That's radiation.
Why are you putting it under your pillow? Don't do that.
I mean, what do you know the science behind this?
No, just keep it further away from the bed. Maybe your bed's in the middle of a room. Maybe you have one of those round Austin Powers.
I'm also kind of kidding. I don't actually feel the energy through the phone. I was just kind of saying that, but I just don't. People have we have no idea. We're the first generation or second generation to have cell phones, so it's like. Are you the second generation? I think we're the first. I remember no cell phone. Oh no, well our parents have one, so.
I think you keep it on your bed because you probably don't feel like getting up to turn off the alarm, right? Yeah, that's
that's a good segue and not something else I want to bring up. Are you guys snoozers, snooze button hitters?
No. You hit the snooze button.
You're up first time. You're just popping up.
Dude, you have to be.
No, you don't.
You have to be
I'm
up.
a 2 or 3 snooze. But obviously I allot the time.
Sleep is so much better.
I allot the time. Like I don't, like I set my alarm like a half hour earlier than I actually have to wake up. Because I know I'm going to snooze. Roy, you seem like someone, I would have guessed that you just pop right up.
I got to pop up because I got to get Claire's bag ready and everything, and then my wife has to get ready, and like, it's a whole world to do.
It's taking an inordinate amount of time to find out this 2018.
Did you guys see that Bill Simmons said that he will eat, what was it? Cow testicles if the Raiders make the playoffs?
Yes, I saw that.
I feel like we should one-up him. We should get Stugotz to agree. Because, first of all, the Raiders, I mean, I guess that's a decent one. You just pick a terrible team. Like, let's say the Bills. I'll go vegan if the Bills make the playoffs. Or we should get Stugotz to do something crazy. Like, worse than that. Because you know the Bills aren't going to make the playoffs.
Okay, the Baja Men are indeed playing Riptide. They are playing the Friday. Roy, you're actually going to like, old-ass Roy over there is going to like the Friday, November 30th. The Jacksons are headlining. Wow. With the Sugar Hill Gang, Baja Men, who, after showing up 40 minutes late, insisting upon being introduced as Grammy award-winning Baja Men, said, now we're going to play you all our hits. I was really confused, and none of the hits were Who Let the Dogs Out. So enjoy that. Lisa is so nice. I named her twice. Sheila E. playing that Friday.
Oh, that's great.
Saturday's the Shark Day. Panic at the Disco, Sublime with Rome, Young the Giant, Dirty Heads, who are always there. Cold War Kids, I think they're like the Blue Man Group. I think there's like 8 Cold War Kids. They're playing everything. Robert DeLong, who's always at Riptide. Bob Moses, I like them. But it's all about the Sunday for me. If you grew up in a time where there weren't cell phones, you want to go to this Sunday. If you like rock music especially, because 311 is headlining. Guilty pleasure, I don't care. I like them. Live, the original lineup. Third Eye Blind, Collective Soul, Sugar Ray, Everclear, The Crystal Method. Now that is a get. This is pretty exciting. This reminds me of the time that I went to the old dog track with Chris Whittingham and my wife, and we saw Fastball and Smash Mouth, and it turned into a riot. An actual riot. David Samson, a riot. A laugh riot. Up next.
A wedding is a beautiful thing, as long as it doesn't fall on a Saturday during college football season. Those Saturdays are reserved for the union of two rivals, a celebration of fans coming together to trash talk one another. At Buffalo Wild Wings, we believe that a wedding planner needs to own a football calendar, and our bars are full of beer-drinking, wing-eating fans who agree with us. Unless you're secretly trying to cut down your guest list, then kudos on the great strategy. Buffalo Wild Wings. Escape to football. Please drink responsibly.
Don Le Batard.
Hall of Famer Tony Perez pees in the shower. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson does not.
Stugotz.
That is the news that I bring you. I'm a journalist.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
Mike and Stugotz have returned from New York. They have stories. They don't fit in the corporate environment. Speaking of which, David Samson, the former Marlins team president, with us now to talk baseball, to talk movies, all of us just sitting around, tapping our feet, waiting for after Halloween when he is freed from his Marlins contract obligation so that we could get all the real stuff.
Yep, I would like him to sit in on the show for an entire show, just to dish everything. Give us everything.
Give us the good stuff. So we'll do that. But first, we're going to review a movie with David Samson, as we do very often around here. David, thank you for being on with us. What are you reviewing today? All right, let's try that again real quick. We've got Samson fell down on the line, so we will fix that in a moment. I've been told that the Mr. Rogers movie is what it is that he is reviewing.
Nice. Do you have interest in seeing that?
Well, I saw it, and it's amazing. It's
great. Really?
Yeah, it's great. Yes, it's just a very simple documentary.
Well, I guess you have interest.
Yes. We've already talked about it on the air, but you weren't listening. That's not surprising.
We talked about you seeing it?
Yes, and getting weepy-eyed, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. So David,
I cried, Dan.
You cried?
Cried.
You're made of wires.
It's the craziest thing ever. I cried for a time. I felt like, the guy from with Steve Guttenberg, Short Circuit, number 5. I felt alive. I couldn't believe that someone took the time to do a documentary about a man who was in my life when my childhood, it was so tumultuous. And what Mr. Rogers provided me was this sanctum of peace where I felt good about everything that was going on. And I had totally forgotten what it made me feel like. I hadn't thought about Mr. Rogers or anything about that for decades. And I wanted to watch the documentary just in case it would unearth anything inside me. And it rocked my foundation. I couldn't believe how quickly I went back to what it felt like to be in just a tunnel on my own watching that show and watching him make me feel like I was a part of something. If you've ever watched Mr. Rogers, watch the documentary and realize that good men who are not pedophiles, who are not in it for money or for glory, but good men who are actually in it to try to make kids feel better about being a kid, those people used to exist.
David Samson with us here on the Orion Fuel and Downstairs Convenience Store guest line. They are truly steps beyond convenient. Did you know, David, what those things were that were running down your face? Did you know? Were you aware of?
I knew what it felt like to go back in time to a place that I never liked going back in time to, and to think about things that I never think about, actually. And so I was actually literally tearing. They weren't flowing down my face. It was more like welling.
Because you're repressed and you were trying to hold them in, and it wasn't working. That's why. Like it would have gone. It would have flowed freely down your face if the wires hadn't gotten in the way.
It's sort of like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, right? You try and try and try, and I tried to hold it in, but it ends up just welling and then plugging all your tear ducts, and then it's a nightmare.
And then you do Then what do you do? Do you do the pretend move of scratching the side of your nose? What do you do there? What do you do after that when you don't want the people that might be around to see that you're tearing up?
I love where your head's at. It's so easy to do. I rub my eyebrow. I put both fingers, one thumb and middle finger, across each eyebrow, and I do that in a way that covers my eyes so that no one can possibly see.
No, you're not fooling anybody. No, you're not fooling anybody. In fact, how do we do this? Mike, let's put this up on the poll somehow. How is it that you conceal your tears when you're trying to conceal your tears when you're total sappy, syrupy wimp, and you start crying and you don't want people to see it?
Just easier to let them flow, man. Show your emotion, David.
I know, but
okay.
I know, but this is one of the things David doesn't understand. Tom Junot, I believe that documentary was born in the place where Tom Junot, the writer who had profiled Mr. Rogers, Tom Junot is one of the best writers I've ever known. Not just sports, outside of sports, any kind of writing.
Close second, me.
He is a cynic, not a romantic. I would guess, based on the way that he writes, that he's probably godless, that he's probably atheist. I don't know that, but I'm just assuming it from the way that he writes. He met Mr. Rogers and had his idea of divinity changed because of the grace of that man. To me, that's crazy, David.
That's a pretty powerful statement, what you just said. And for an atheist to all of a sudden find God through Mr. Rogers, I'm not sure how to react to that. I'm sort of scared, actually.
I'm assuming it. I mean, we talked to Juneau. I'm assuming it. But from some of the things that he said, he felt altered by the experience of having been, metaphorically touched by this man.
It was very hard. Part of the documentary that's interesting is the interviews of Mr. Rogers' actual children. I can only imagine what it must have been like to share your dad with the world and with every other child, because the thing with Mr. Rogers is you all wanted him to be your dad. And I've wondered always what he was like as a dad, what it would be like to be in that family. And this documentary has his wife and his kids talking about what it was like to live growing up with Mr. Rogers. That alone is worth watching the documentary.
Sounds really awesome. David, I'm wondering, besides Mr. Rogers, has any other movie driven you to tears?
The Bridges of Madison County, when Meryl Streep had her hand on the door handle at the red light in the rain with Clint Eastwood in the car in front.
Allison, put on the poll, please. Did you cry during the Mr. Rogers movie, and did you cry during what was the movie you just mentioned? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Bridges of Madison County.
I didn't see it. Okay, so that's that romantic one, right? Isn't it Bridges of Madison County one of the most romantic movies?
I didn't see it because Streep's in it. So
ever made? Like, isn't it?
You won't see a movie with Streep?
I'm done seeing Streep movies. She's overrated, Dave.
Wow, that's ridiculous. There's unbelievable Streep movies. I just watched The Devil Makes Prada again yesterday, or 2 days ago. I can't remember. It was on. I forgot how good she is in so many different roles.
I mean, I'll take your word on it.
Well, you say name them to David Samson. He can name all the Streep roles. You're like, you're sitting here.
He says some great Streep movies. I mean, I'm just.
All right, so he's saying name the great Streep movies.
A Cry in the Dark, Silkwood.
What?
You never saw those two?
No.
Well, a dingo.
I'm waiting for a good one.
Baby. That's Meryl Streep. Remember in Australia when literally a dingo stole a baby and this woman went to prison for it because she claimed that a dingo did it?
Yes.
Check out the movie. Silkwood is the nuclear reaction movie with Cher. Wow, you need some help, Stugotz.
I do. I need a lot of help, but so do you.
What about Kramer versus Kramer?
What about it?
Have you ever been a divorced kid and seen Kramer versus Kramer?
No.
To both?
No. I wasn't a Seinfeld guy. I got to be honest with you. I mean,
I'm not sure what you actually do other than not do what you're supposed to do.
Well, that's it.
Sports.
That's the no. The correct answer is not sports. The correct answer is I'm not sure what you do except exactly what you're not supposed to do. So as we go through tears at the movies, Mike, what is your move? Roy, what is your move? Chris, what is your move when you're trying to hide tears from somebody? I want to know what the go-to move is. I would have figured it would have been like sort of pawing at a nose itch.
Well, am I wearing a hat? Because if I'm wearing a hat, the move is simple. The hat goes down low.
I'm pinching my nose, kind of like acting like I have sinuses.
I just keep my hand on my face.
You just keep your hand on your face.
You let them flow, right? I let them flow at this point.
I usually let them flow, but the reason that I'm thinking about it is because of the handful of times where what's my move is what I was thinking of. If I'm in a theater on a first date or something and I don't want to be crying just yet.
Oh no, I think that's when you have to cry. It shows that you're not afraid to cry in front of a date.
But I was doing it during Mission Impossible.
Oh.
You can't cry on a first date in a movie. That's rule number 6.
Put it on the poll, Allison. Can you cry in a first date at the movie?
And is that rule number 6?
No, we're not doing that. I don't know. I would like.
I want to hear the other 5 rules.
I would like to know what the other rules are, but I don't believe there are 5 others.
Oh, have you not been dating? Of course, there's 6 rules of first dates.
All right. Well, we have number 6.
What would be the number one thing not to do on a first date? The number one thing. Oh, my God, guys. You don't look at the girl and say, oh, my God, you remind me of my mother.
Oh.
Is that rule number 1?
One rule.
Well,
All right. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the number one rule. Did you see this story about the Tiger broadcasters fighting?
I've seen it, except, yes, and I've seen fighting both with broadcasters and players. They spend a lot of time together. They did not fight over the fact that the Tigers stink or the fact that they don't like how each other talk. Something else went on. We'll never know. There could have been something with wives, girlfriends. Someone had a big mouth. Someone said something they shouldn't have said or saw something they shouldn't have seen. If you're going to have a physical altercation amongst players or broadcasters, it's not over your career.
It was over a chair.
I would doubt that.
That's what's being reported. They were fighting over a chair. 17-year broadcasters. Didn't Joe Angel and Dave O'Brien have a fight like that? You wouldn't know, right? It was before your time?
Yeah, that was. I joined in 2002. I was not with them.
Give us a broadcaster fight you've seen. Give us something that...
Well, the best one, I've seen players get in fights because there was mistaken identities, like Corbin Burnson and Charlie Sheen in Major League, where there is something that happens with one of the wives and one of the girlfriends and sort of inter-team sex. I've seen that happen that leads to fighting and punching. Generally, physical altercations are based on when you embarrass someone else, and that's when players or broadcasters feel like they have to stick up. But when you're the Detroit broadcasters, they've been together so long, there's got to be something more than just a chair. And Detroit's going to do a good job of not talking about it. I can promise you that.
Would you give a big arm, if you were still an executive, given what just happened with Ohtani, where now any power arm, basically, given the deterioration of Felix Hernandez, you basically have such a small window. Would you, going forward as an executive, if you had unlimited funds, not having to run the place the way with coupons the way you had to, would you give the $250 million to a power arm?
No, the only pitcher who's made it worthwhile is Max Scherzer. The only single long-term guy is Scherzer. The others have been disasters, some worse than others.
Verlander's been okay. Hasn't Verlander been okay?
Well, remember, he was good. When he got back to Houston, he was good, but at the end of Detroit, it was terrible. He went through a streak of terribleness, and then he found Upton, which I guess is the same thing as finding God, because it turned his entire career around, and he went back to what he was, even has increased velocity. But for me, I'm going to pitch guys until their arms fall out before they become free agents. We talked about that with Jacob deGrom. The Mets should have traded him, the Yankees would have given up everything to get him. The Yankees needed him. Pitch deGrom until his arm falls off, and then let him go as a free agent somewhere else and be someone else's problem in 2020.
You guys had to be tempted, given that it was a Boras client, Jose Fernandez. You guys had to have been tempted to see if you could move him before any of that happened, because he was going to have great value being a power arm like that kind of young and that kind of affordable.
We were more than tempted. We were down the road on a trade one year with the Diamondbacks for a bunch of players, and we talked about we never were going to get Jose to sign a long-term deal because of who his agent was, and Jose was going to go after the most money he could, which we don't blame him. That's why you have Scott Boras as an agent. It's unbelievably sad that there's nothing to talk about on that subject right now.
Hold on a second, though. Hold on. I know that you want... Look, man, you've cared about that family. You do care about that family legitimately. I'm talking about the baseball of this and only the baseball, and you don't have to apologize for answering questions about only the baseball. What was that Diamondbacks trade? How far down the road was it, and why did it get nixed?
Names were exchanged, agreements were made, and at the end of the day, ownership on both sides, once deals were agreed to, ownership on both sides decided against it. It was one player from the Marlins going for many, many players from the Diamondbacks, and I'm trying to remember even what year it was, because it's hard. As I'm getting older, I'm having a hard time remembering how many years ago certain things happened. It all sort of blends together. Is that happening to you, Le Batard?
I want to hear some of these names. We got a minute left, and I don't want to talk about my memory or forgetting things. I want to know.
And yes, it's happening to him.
Yes, it's happening to me. I'm aging. Yes, time is going by way too fast, and I am forgetting way too many things. Yes, that's how aging works. It's why I'm waiting for Elon Musk.
Nightmare.
I'm waiting for Elon Musk to make the app where I could just buy youth off young people.
Keep waiting.
Yeah, I'm just going to buy youth. That's coming, right?
What's the movie with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried where they have in time, where they have time on their arm and they get more time and live forever? That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want Musk to invent.
So it was Dansby and Corbin Dansby and Corbin on the list of prospects?
Corbin was going to be an ace, no doubt about it. He may still be.
All right. We'll talk to you next week, buddy.